nobody on this road that can save your soul. Almost lost control now. Tell me what you need in a friend and now. Pray that we endure to the end again. I'm just saying that I'm here for you. When the world turn against you, I'ma be with you. Got my sword in my hand, you can count on me. I won't run and hide, fight mightily.
Waiting on your house shot. See the Jacob, I'm the apple of my father's eye. I learned the truth for who I was and it made me cry. If I don't keep the laws of Yah, then I'm gonna die. Living curses, but I'm edifying in my verses. Prepare the hearses for the heathens who be steady learning.
Khan. First and foremost, want to give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashiach, Wamalak Yahushai. To the 12 tribes that scattered abroad, greetings. Trying to wake up the hopeful elect. It's going down out here, y'all. It is going down. Now, I want to start off through the spirit. I titled this live, End Time Signs. Are you being watchful? You know, if you haven't heard, there's a lot of different things going on the earth. Like the scripture said, what happened in these end times. And we want to make sure that the children of Israel, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of indigenous descent, that you are being watchful to the times so you don't get caught out here, so you don't get caught unaware, right? So you don't get caught unawares, all right? Man, so you don't get caught unaware. Get this Luke 21. We're going to go into that as well. So I want to kick it off with this precept through the Spirit in Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter. Now, Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter is a chapter that's going into warnings, right? Into warning the children of Israel and being that watchman, okay? So I'm going to start off Ezekiel 37 and 14. So the Spirit lifted me up and took me away, and I went in bitterness and in the heat of my spirit. Now, the Spirit has to lift you up in order to have the understanding and to be in the right spirit to call out the things that the Most High has ordained that are going to happen, that have happened, and that will happen on the earth. So you definitely want to be in the spirit of being watchful, so you're not caught out here lacking, as they say in the world. You don't want to be caught lacking. You want to make sure that you have that watchful spirit. So Ezekiel got caught up in his spirit. And it's the spirit of the Most High that has me doing this tonight, Lord willing, on the right-hand side, not the left-hand side, Salakia, in order to warn our people of what's going down and of the dangers and of the things that are going to befall the earth. All right. If you haven't heard, which we're going to get into, there is an earthquake, an active earthquake that's going on in the state of Michigan. All right. Well, you can fact check it. You can look it up. It's an active earthquake that's going on in the state of Michigan. And we out here to warn the people, to warn the children of Israel and the other nations that it's time to return to serving the Most High God, right? It's time to return to serving the only true and living God, Yahweh. You know, some people may say Yahweh, some people may say Yahuwah, and some people may the Most High God of the Bible, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's time to get your houses in order. It's the time to get your wicked mind in order. It's a time to be moving through the spirit of righteousness. And we out here to shake the hand to warn you, because out of love, right, for the children of Israel. Then I came to them of the captivity. We're coming to you, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of indigenous descent, especially on the Western Hemisphere and throughout the four corners of the world, because we know the children of Israel are spread throughout the four corners of the world. So I came to them of the captivity at Tel Aviv, that dwelt by the river of Shabar, and I sat where they sat. So here we are. We're coming to the children of the captivity, and we're sitting in the same place that you're sitting, through the spirit, in a place of low estate as a people, in the cities that are downtrodden, right? From broken homes, communities. Hey, whether you're in a business, whether you're in school and education, whether you're in an impoverished, environment, and whether you're rich according to the world, right? Whether you are a homemaker, whether you're a single man, whether you're a married man, whether you're a single woman, sister, whether you're a married sister, and we coming to you to warn you. I warn you of what's going on. All right. And I sat where they sat and remained there astonished among them 7 days. Now we know 7 goes into a time of completion. This was a physical 7 days. And we astonished. We astonished at the condition of our people, that our people are so caught up in social media. Our people are so caught up in chasing a bag. And we get it. You got to make money. You got to feed yourself, sustain your family. But that's not what the main focus is. Don't be so caught up in chasing a bag that you lose sight of who you are, that you lose sight of the true mission of worshiping the Most High God, Yahweh. So don't get caught up in the ways of this world. And in being caught up, you neglect the things that are most profitable, all right? The things that can save your soul, all right? So reading on. And it came to pass at the end of 7 days that the word of Yahweh, or the word of the Lord as is written, we know this tetragrammaton, anytime you see capital Lord, that's the tetragrammaton where it says Yahweh, came unto me saying, Son of man, here's the point. I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. So we're here. I'm here tonight to give you, brothers and sisters, chiefly of the house of Israel, warning that it's time to get in order. The prophecies that the Most High God said would come, the things that will come to pass, they are coming to pass, right? When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from his wicked way to save his life, the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, which is sin, but his blood will I require at thy hand. If we don't warn the people, the Most High has given us the information. All praise to the Most High through the spirit of his son, Yahweh Shai, Slakia, who the world ignorantly calls Christ. He's waking us up and giving us the understanding to see the writing on the wall. All right. Like in the time of Daniel, Daniel was able to discern and decipher the writing on the wall. See, a lot of people might see the writing on the wall. They may see certain events that are taking place in the earth, but they might not have the discernment through the spirit to understand and break it down. It might not be plain upon tables. You know, you might see something written in Chinese on a wall or in a different language on a board, and you might be able to understand that that's a different language. But your understanding might not enable you to comprehend what the words are saying in that language. So we're here to give you the comprehension that the Most High is not playing. And we're here to warn the wicked. Now, what makes you wicked? This iniquity, Salakia, being caught up in iniquity and sin, transgressing the laws of the Most High God, not keeping the faith in Yahweh Shai, not believing in the scriptures, not believing in the Most High God, not believing in his word, not taking heed to the commandments, to the instructions in righteousness. Because if you don't take heed to the instructions in righteousness, you're going to fall in wickedness and you're going to wax worse and worse day by day, right? And if we don't warn you, if we don't warn the people, then your blood will be on our hands, which means that the Most High God will hold us accountable for knowing this and not sounding the trumpet, not blowing the shofar. So we're blowing the shofar and we're warning the people. We're sounding the alarm, all right? Yet if thou warn the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity. So with us giving this warning through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, if brothers and sisters, right, even myself, if we're not taking heed to the warning, then we're going to die in our iniquity. We're going to die in our sins. All right. Because everybody's going to die, whether that's the first death or the second death, right? Whether it's, and now the scripture says there shall be some that don't taste death, right? And we know there's a context to that. So if we're not properly saving ourselves, and don't be simple-minded, what I mean by doing the work that is commanded of you to be exempt from the things that are coming, and you can't expect anything but to be destroyed. You know, we know that the Most High God is merciful, but we know his mercy is just likened unto his wrath. So how merciful the Most High God is also is how wrathful the Most High God is in terms of his punishment and judgments. All right. So reading on. Yet if thou warn the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. Again, when a righteous man doth turn from his righteousness and commit iniquity, and I lay a stumbling block before him, he shall die, because thou hast not given him warning. He shall die in his sin, and his righteousness which he have done shall not be remembered, but his blood will I require at thy hand. So this warning isn't just to those of you who are in sin and who don't know who you are, but also to those children of Israel who the Most High God has wakened up in these end times and has given you the understanding, and you find yourself falling back into the ways of the world, falling back into that old man. You had killed and crucified that old man. Well, you had killed that old man, but you didn't crucify him through the Spirit. So those old ways and habits crept back up on you unaware, like it goes into Luke 21. And now you begin to wax wickeder and wickeder and wickeder. And like the precept says, the estate or the state of that man is worse off knowing the truth and backsliding back into the ways of the world, right? I'm going to get this quick precept real quick in the book of Matthew, right? Matthew 12 chapter. In the book of Matthew chapter 12 and verse 45. And you don't want this, you don't want to be this person. Then I'm going to read up. I'm going to actually start with verse 43. The book of Matthew chapter 12 and verse 43. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest and findeth none. Because see, that unclean spirit had a body. It had rest. It had rest in you at one point. It had rest in me at one point, right? It had rest in us because we were moving according to unrighteousness. That wicked spirit had overtaken our spirit, and it had us doing all type of wicked things. But it came a point in time where that wicked spirit was casted out. And when that wicked spirit was cast out, it goes and is seeking rest. It's seeking another body to inhabit, to afflict with wickedness, to influence in iniquity, to influence in order to be led into unrighteousness, whether that's diverse lust, whether that's wickedness, whether that's murder, whatever type of wickedness that spirit can encourage or influence a brother or sister to be in. That's what happened when that wicked spirit leaves you or leaves me and has gone out and looking for another host, for lack of a better word, right? Reading on. Then goeth he, so the wicked spirit goeth, and taketh himself, Slakia. Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came. So the wicked spirit leaves you, and and a lot of times this wicked spirit is left because you heard the truth. You heard the law, statutes, and commandments, and your spirit began to bear witness. And through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that wicked spirit was cast out. But you didn't continue in the works. You didn't continue building up that strong foundation. And so you begin to wax wicked and wax weaker back into the ways of the world. And that spirit ultimately that was cast out, that left you, ended up coming back and re-inhabiting you. And not only that, Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came. And when he cometh, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished. Now, what is this going into? He came, he found it empty. You weren't built up. You didn't, when that spirit was cast out, that house was empty, but it wasn't replenished with the spirit of the Most High. You didn't fill it back up with the understanding of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. You didn't fill it back up with faith. You didn't fill it back up with righteous works. So that vessel, although it was clean and that wicked spirit was cast out, you didn't do the works to build up that strong defense. So when that spirit come back and he find it empty and garnished, right? Garnished being going into, it was prepared, right? It was ready for him to just re-inhabit, all right? Then goeth he and taketh with him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be unto this wicked generation. So you don't want the last estate and of yourself to be worse than when it was when you first came into and found this truth. So in this Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, when it goes down here into this verse, we're also giving warning to those children of Israel who might have come into this knowledge. You might have been keeping Shabbat. Yeah, you had fringes. Look, you had fringes on your garments. You had the ribbon of blue. You was keeping the feast days. You were starting to abstain from the ways of the world. You were getting out of whoredom, idolatry, being a liar, a stealer, a thief. You were starting to build up righteous works by Shem Yahweh Shai, but then you got enticed because you weren't building up your spirit strong enough. You started to backslide. You started to become slothful, and you started to contemn things. I want to get this precept real quick, right? In Sirach, you started to contemn things little by little. The book of Sirach, chapter 19, verse 1. A laboring man that is given to drunkenness shall not be rich. So you can't become rich on a carnal level if you're damn drunk all day, because you're not going to be able to have a focused mind to put in the work. So on a spiritual level, if you're not laboring in this truth consistently, if you're not constantly examining yourself, you're not constantly building yourself up, you're not constantly fasting, if you're not praying, if you're not constantly being around like-minded individuals in this truth, then you're going to be given to drunkenness, doctrines of this world, philosophies of this world, right? The rudimentary day-to-day task of this world, right? You're going to be given onto peer pressure. You're going to be given off into a reprobate mind, right? That's the drunkenness through the spirit. You're not going to be rich. What is rich? You're not going to get the promises. You're not going to be able to partake in the promises that were promised for you if you kept the law, statutes, and commandments, if you kept the faith, if you endured unto the end. You're not going to get the fullness and the richness of his glory. And this is the point, that contemneth small things shall fall by little and little. So back to the point, you children of Israel who are once waxing mighty, and you begin to take small days off. You begin to take, and maybe you didn't wear your fringes that day. And, brothers may say, well, okay, I didn't wear fringes. That's not really that big of a deal, but it is a big deal because it's your disposition of your mindset. You're having a lapse in judgment. And those small things are spirits that are jumping on you saying, you know what, it's not important to wear my fringes today, because the bigger thing you're really saying, it's not important to keep the commandments. And you might not perceive that right when you do it, but those things start to build up. And next thing, those small things end up turning to bigger things, right? End up turning to bigger and the bigger thing. It's kind of like, I just went to the dentist maybe about, I think that was last week, right? And I had been putting off this dental work because I needed some crowns, all right? And the reason why I needed crowns because I didn't properly take care of my teeth. I didn't properly floss. And over time, the little thing of I was brushing good, but not flossing. That little not flossing ended up making my gums and the two molars right here ended up starting to decay and worse and worse and worse. And then on top of that, I'm eating things that are maybe sugary. You know, you have food when you don't floss, the food is little particles are wedged down inside of your teeth. And over time, that food starts to rot and decay and it starts to break down your enamel. So just because something as little as flossing or not flossing ended up ultimately costing me those two teeth. And where I had to go get them grinded down, I had to get cosmetics. I had to get crowns on those teeth, right? A very, very expensive lesson, right? So when we go into, these end times and as we see these different things going on in the earth, you want to make sure that you're being watchful and you want to make sure that, once again, this is a warning not only to those who are not in the truth, but those are the children of Israel who are in the truth as well, right? And to the other nations. The other nations, if you want a good spot in servitude when the children of Israel are in rulership underneath Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, if you want to be a part of that divine government, you should be doing all you can do to make your calling and election sure as well, right? You want to be doing all you can do to serve the God of Israel. Because if you're not serving Yahweh, the God of Israel, I don't care what anybody says. I'm a Bible believer. It's not going to end well for you, right? So moving on. All right. So let me get this quick preset. Well, matter of fact, I'm going to get this Luke. I want to get this Luke. Luke 21. And I want to get it in the KJV. We're going to go Luke 21, 34 through 36. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that the day come upon you unawares. You don't want to be caught out here where you're just going to your job every day. You kind of get into this day-to-day routine. You wake up, you do whatever you do in the morning, you go to work, you take your children to school. If you don't have a job, maybe you consumed in video games or whatever type of folly that may have your life consumed. And you're going through these cycles. You come home, you take off your work clothes, you take a shower, you eat dinner, you might watch some TV or whatever. You go to bed. The next day is the same cycle. So you're getting caught up in the cares of life and you're neglecting to feed your spirit and to get closer to the Most High God. So this is a warning. You don't want to do that because the signs are showing that you don't want to be caught out here unawares. Where next thing you know, the damn earthquakes is coming, the famines is coming, and things that have been prophesied aforetime that are for our learning to take heed. You miss them because you're caught up in your day-to-day life, and the next thing you know, the day cometh upon you unawares. The Most High send back his son like a thief in the night, and you don't know what's going on. And in your ignorance of what's going on, you caught out here and you're destroyed, or your family's destroyed. Do you really love your wife? Do you really love your children? You should be beckoning them every day with your example, with your actions, right? Because you can read the precepts all day. If you're not living them, then you're being a hypocrite and you're being a horrible example, right? And this is for me as well. So these are the things that you want to be making sure through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, and praying to the Most High God for that awareness, that discernment, that strength, and that endurance, and that discipline, ultimately, so therefore you can wax stronger and mightier. And when we say wax mightier, that means increasing day by day, little by little, to the right-hand side and not to the left. For as a snare shall it come on to them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and stand before the Son of Man. So we should be praying to the Most High that we're counted worthy to escape what's going to befall the whole earth. All right. And you should be being watchful. You should be looking at the current events, right? I want to get this real quick as well. Let me get this. I want what I'm looking for. I want the second Esdras 9. So it's the book of second Esdras chapter 9 from the top, and it reads, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. Now this is deep, right? And I don't have all the in-depth understanding of the 10 different, maybe 90, 100 different folds of this. But the one we want to talk about today is measuring the time diligently in itself. We know the Most High God has said through his word that through the dispensation of the span of time, there'll be certain prophecies, certain events, certain signs to look for within the unfolding of his will through time in itself. And you have to use, when it says measure, it means to take account. When you measure something, ultimately you're counting it, right? Whether it's in volume, whether it's in weight, whether it's in distance, those measurements are to take an account of something. So therefore, you can be conscious on how to interact with it, right? If it's a weight, you want to be conscious maybe on how to move it. If it's too heavy, if you need a certain different type of, tool or maybe heavy equipment or whatever it may be to move that weight. If it's a distance, maybe you have to measure it because you have to engage. You have to run a particular distance. You have to go a distance. Maybe you're on a journey, whatever it may be. Liquid, right? You may be having to measure that particular liquid to, take medication, or you have a certain amount of liquid that you need in order to mix with something else if you're making food or whatever it is. But a measurement is to take an account of it. And normally you're taking an account of something in a measurement in order to engage with it or in order to be aware of how to utilize it, right? So in this context, you want to be taking account and measuring the events that are going on a day-to-day basis. And you want to be able to line those up with what the scriptures say are going to happen the closer we get to the end, to sound an alarm through your spirit to realize that it's time to get off of your ass, Salakia for the language, and it's time to increase in your righteous servitude. It's time to do more, repent more. It's time to read more. It's time to try to perfect and to make sure that you're abstaining from iniquity, from sin. That's what it boils down to. You want to be abstaining from sin, from wickedness, from transgression. These are the things that you want to be that you want to be doing. All right. Moving on. Salaki. Bam. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, see, there's things that have been preordained and pre-proclaimed before throughout all of the mighty prophets. Then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And does this mean that the Most High is going to get off of his throne in the third heaven and come physically visit the earth? No. But the Most High is visiting the earth through his word unfolding. And he's sending the angels, he's sending the chariots, right? He's going to ultimately visit the earth through Yahweh Shai, coming back on a chariot, which is called a UFO, right? And bringing judgments to the nations, but first starting with the house of Israel, all right? Judgment must first start with the house of Israel, right? Let me get this real quick. So you gotta be mindful of these things. It's the book of First Peter, chapter 4 and verse 17. For the time is come that judgment must begin with the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of the Most High? So you got to know that judgment first is going to begin with the children of Israel. So we got to get in order as the children of Israel. All right. We got to get in order. So bam, And we see, I'm going to get this precept really quick, back to here in the second Esdras. Therefore, when there shall be earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shall thou well understand. So look, right here, you just shall understand. So you have that first level of understanding. But as things progress and as you see more of these events unfold, which the Most High has proclaimed through him visiting the earth, through the famines, the earthquakes, these events that have taken place, when you start to see these, your understanding shall increase. You should get more of a sense of urgency of what type of time it is, right? Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath the beginning and an end, the end is manifest. So that means the end times are here. Now, no one knows the day, no one knows the hour. We see that in the scriptures. Even Yahweh shall say, no man knoweth the day, nor the hour, not the Son, not the angels, but the Father, only, paraphrasing, right? Even so, the time also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. So just how in the beginning, when the Most High created the light from the darkness, when the Most High God created all of the multitude of animals and people and so forth and so on, those are wonderful works of his creation and they're manifest. And just how the end is, there's signs and events that must happen that manifest what's really going on the end. And one of those signs, right, are earthquakes. All right, are earthquakes. So today, as you see right here in Michigan, in the state of Michigan, there is a earthquake that happened 2 miles from Carlton, Michigan. Now, Michigan is not known for having earthquakes, y'all. And in fact, this is the second earthquake that has happened in the last 2 weeks, I believe, right? And it's a magnitude 2.7 earthquake. Let's see some news clippings. Look at this. 2 hours ago, a 2.7 magnitude earthquake hit southeast Michigan. Earthquakes rattle Monroe County. It's the area's second quake in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, y'all. Look at this. Fair use. Fair use. Hopefully they ain't trying to make me pay for this. Fair use, y'all. Check this out.
Oh, I know a lender who can help.
Salaki, it's fair use. Now, mind you, this is the second earthquake that has happened in a 2-week span in the state of Michigan, y'all. In the state of Michigan. Let's get it. Salaki, this ad is almost done, most I willing, man. You don't want to watch the sister shaving herself. This ass be just off, man.
Way Venus.
Look at that. Oh, it's like PC football. That's like Philippines. But that's what's coming even to the U.S. Right? But look at this. A magnitude 2.7 earthquakes centered about 1.2 miles west of the village of Carlton shook homes and rattled windows at 5:32 p.m. Monday, May 4th, the U.S. Geological Survey reported. The quake could be felt across the Ohio border just north of Toledo. So even in the city I'm in much of the downriver area and far north as Dearborn Heights, according to reports by the USGS, that's the U.S. Geological Survey report. Did you feel it? So you see, this is the second earthquake in the last 2 weeks. It was registered as being of light intensity. It's the second recorded tremor in the region in the span of 2 weeks. Another earthquake registered as a magnitude 2.9 was reported at 10:32 a.m. April 26, according to the USGS. It was centered about 4.3 miles south-southeast of Amherstburg, Ontario, Canada, which places it near the mouth of the Detroit River where it meets Lake Erie. The quake was felt in Ontario as well as parts of southeastern Michigan, including Detroit, Downriver, and Monroe County. So we see, y'all, the Most High God is shaking things up. It's earthquakes happening in the state of Michigan, and you're feeling them in Ohio. Now, if you know anything about these areas, right? Earthquakes are not usually seen or felt. Like, earthquakes are not a typical natural disaster or phenomenon that happens in the Midwest. Look, are earthquakes typical or usual in the Midwest? So look, it says earthquakes are relatively common in specific parts of Midwest, specifically within the New Madrid seismic zone, which average hundreds of small, often unfelt earthquakes annually, while large damaging earthquakes are rarely compound to the West Coast. The Midwest faces a significant risk of infrequent major events. So you see that when you look at active fault zones, according to the New Madrid seismic zone, which it talks about right here, you don't see Michigan in that zone. You see parts of Missouri, Arkansas, Texas, Kentucky, Illinois. You don't see Michigan. All right. You don't see Michigan or Ohio. So for there to be an earthquake and two earthquakes in the past, couple days in Michigan and parts of Ohio, that's not something that's typical. All right. So another thing too I want to get into is famines, right? You see that there will be famines, and before we get into famines, civil unrest. All right. So when you go into civil unrest, I'm going to get this quick definition. Civil unrest is a public disturbance involving acts of violence, property damage, or severe disruption of public order caused by groups of people. It is a form of collective action driven by social, political, or economic discontent. Economic discontent, which could go into famines and things of that nature, ranging from riots and strikes to large-scale protests that may become violent and dangerous. So once again, when we go into the second Esdras, the 9th chapter, we see very clearly that it says earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. So we're also seeing a lot of civil unrest. Some of that civil unrest is going into because of the famines. There's certain wars that are going on that are causing, from a geopolitical side, the effect on local economies. So famine is a severe, widespread shortage of food causing mass starvation, malnutrition, and death, generally declared when 20% of household faces extreme food shortages, 30% of children suffer acute malnutrition, and mortality rate exceeds 2 per 10,000 people daily, driven primarily by conflicts, climate shocks, and economic collapse. These catastrophic events are frequently man-made and preventable. Well, we know the Most High God stirs up spirits, right, of vengeance that bring on sore strokes, right? Some may cause wars, right? Conflicts, civil unrest. Those wars may affect shipping routes and things of that nature, as we see in right here in the Strait of Hormuz. Global famine fears rise as Hormuz crisis threatens 8-year Suez scale disruption. So when you get into, analysts warn global famine fears are rising as food prices climb and fragile supply chains are strained during the Strait of Hormuz crisis, raising the risk of a prolonged Suez scale 8-year disruption. As the conflict, which we saw, said these certain civil unrest and famines are also due to conflicts. As the conflict entered day 62, the U.S. maintained its naval blockade of traffic entering and exiting Iranian ports, while Iran continues to effectively close the strait. Best case, there is an agreement between the U.S. and Iran within the next few weeks, and the strait reopens. Lars Jensen, CEO partner at Vespucci Maritime, told Fox News Digital. And I quote, and it quotes, a fair use. And it has to be a deal where there is trust that Iran is sufficiently satisfied with the deal such that they do not suddenly close the straits again. So we see the straits, which are a cargo shipping maritime corridor in the Persian Gulf, which are very essential for the transport of goods, of fertilizer, of certain agricultural products and crops that are essential for food supply, for whether it's farming, whether it's growth, whether it's certain maritime goods and things that help sustain certain qualities of life. These things are being cut off. And so you got to ask yourself, once again, these are signs that should have you being watchful and warning of the things that are to come. So once again, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, we're here to give you warning. And you got to ask yourself, end time signs are here. Are you being watchful? Lord willing, this Man of Mondays has been edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashek, woman like Yahweh Shai, to the 12 tribes that scattered abroad. Greetings. Continue to wax mightier. Continue to be watchful. Until next time, family. Kwam Yashala.